Good morning, everyone. My name is Clarissa Vivian Petrucci. I'm the Special Project Coordinator here at Civic. On behalf of our Executive Director, Dr. Jesus Martinez, we welcome you this morning to this presentation that we have for all of you. We know our partners are very active, and one of the barriers that many of us face are the language barriers. So that's why we wanted to bring this presentation to you, because this is a resource that is available for the organizations. And for this, we have Sarah Hassan. I hope I pronounced it well. Sarah?
Yes, that was excellent. Thank you.
Who is the partnership manager at Tarjimly, and she's going to be presenting today. Well, thank you, Sarah, for joining us. We know that we have a different time, and we were going back and forward just trying to find a time that it was a daytime in California and like a decent hour for you. So thank you very much for being with us this morning, and welcome.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you all for joining. I'm excited to expose all of you to Tarjimly and what we do and how to use it. So the presentation I've put together today is a more practical guide to using the application. There we go. So the agenda for today's presentation is I'll tell you a little bit about our organization. I'll let you know how you can download our app. I'll go into some best practices when using the app, and then we can talk about how the app works, safeguarding, vetting, and confidentiality on the app. I'll just give you a blurb about our premium services, and then what you can do to share the app with clients if you decide to do so. So Tarjimly was founded in 2017, as a 501c3. We're actually based out of Mountain View, even though, as Clarissa said, I'm actually in Amman, Jordan right now. And our team post-COVID is pretty spread out around the world, including California, Texas, Uruguay, Pakistan, Mexico, Jordan. So we're pretty spread out right now. Our mission is that to provide language access and to eliminate language barriers for refugees, immigrants, asylum seekers, and anybody working with them. We do that by crowdsourcing volunteer multilinguals on our app to provide free on-demand interpretation and translation services. Now, the way it works is you make a selection for your language pairing of choice, and you filter. So, for example, you could say English to Pashto, request, and we have a machine learning algorithm that basically organizes all of our volunteers and decides which ones are most suitable for your request. We take into consideration different factors, including self-reported expertise, probability with which they will say yes based on historical data. We take into consideration time zones and other factors, including whether or not they've taken some trainings on the app. We reach out to different groups of volunteers every 30 seconds. So the longer you wait, the more people we're reaching out to, and the more time they have to accept. So on the volunteer side, they receive a notification, hey, somebody needs your help, are you available? The first person to say, yes, I'm available, is connected with you in what we call a session. And in the session, you can communicate via texting, sending voice notes, sending photos, or getting on an internet call. And all of that is 100% free. You can use it, your clients can use it, and you can use it day and night, and we don't charge a penny. We are available for over 60 languages, and our average connection time is under 2 minutes. So the time from which you select your request or make your request, the time you're connected someone is generally under 2 minutes. For more popular languages, it's closer to a minute or less. For more difficult languages, it's a little bit longer, but we always recommend to wait at least 2 minutes to connect. Now, I don't know if you all have your smartphones, but if you do, you can start by downloading the app right now. Go to, on your smartphones, open up a browser, go to Tarjimly, Tarjimly, which actually means translate for me in Arabic, as well as in a handful of other languages, especially with the root word Tarjim. So tarjimly.org/start. When you do that, it'll automatically take you to our app in your app store. So it's a smart URL. If you're an iPhone, it'll take you to the Apple Store. If you have an Android, it'll take you to the Google Store. And once you do that, you can sign up on the app. I'll play a short video that explains how to do so.
To sign up as a beneficiary,
Click the
translator and fill in all the To sign up as a beneficiary, click I need a translator and fill in all the information on the create an account page. Fill in your full name, email address, and create a safe password. You can also use Facebook or your Apple ID to sign up. Then click the sign up button. Next, you'll be taken to your home screen. Scroll down, click Update Profile, and fill in all the information there, including gender, occupation, organization, and phone number. All of this information will be kept confidential. You'll need to verify your email before getting started, so go to the inbox of the email used to sign up for Tarjimly and click Confirm Email. Congratulations, you're now ready to request your first session. Head to the app, select the languages you'd like an interpreter for, and create request translation.
So it's pretty simple in terms of how to sign up. If you need
to sign up,
to request, just make sure that when you are signing up, you select I need a translator and not I am a translator or I want to translate, because then you're signing up to volunteer and not to request services. Next, I'd like to go through some best practices. Clarissa, do you want people to save questions until the end, or should we pause at the end of each section? And what would you prefer?
I think we can pause right now if anyone has a question about what Sarah has mentioned right now. If there are not, we can wait until the end, Sarah,
okay.
so they can have all the information and then make the questions.
Perfect. So next we're going to go into some best practices. We like to always prepare people for best practices, and actually in the coming weeks, we're going to be launching a training tab for beneficiaries. So a beneficiary for us is somebody requesting interpretation. So it could be an aid worker, a pro bono lawyer, immigrants, refugees, whomever. Basically, we're going to have a training on the app that goes through best practices to make sure you have a good session. I'm going to share some best practices with you. The first is making an informed assessment. So we really do believe and support professional interpreters. So if there is a case where you're going to a medical clinic or to a court, there are two things to know. One is we are a language justice organization, and we believe in the right to advocate for rights you already have. So if a medical clinic receives any federal funding, including Medicaid, Medi-Cal, anything like that, then you or your client, you have the right to receive interpretation services. And in those settings, you should ask for medical interpreters, because even certified interpreters a lot of times are not equipped for medical translations with little, very technical medical terminology. So it's important to advocate for that right. The same can be said when you go to court, because you need a court certified interpreter. Obviously, there are tons of situations where Tarjimly makes sense to be used, but if there is a very high stakes situation that has very technical terminology, we request hiring a professional interpreter for that. Now, when requesting a session, make sure you're ready and available. Especially for certain language pairings, you would be very surprised at how fast you get connected. I know I've made the mistake in the past of having my app open and being like, oh, let me make a request. And I put my app down and I start doing work and I don't realize. And the translator's been there like, hello, are you there? So always make sure you're ready and available when you do make a request. Think before sharing personal or contact information. So we do a lot on the app, which we will go through when we go through confidentiality on protecting data. And we realize that any time you share personal information, that involves a risk. So we always say, ask yourself, is it necessary? Can I do it in a way that better protects my client's privacy? And if not, just remind the translator who has agreed to our code of conduct that includes a confidentiality statement that the session is confidential and this is important information. Do not interpret outside of the app. This one's really important. Our translators and volunteers are very lovely. And a lot of times they're like, oh, here's my WhatsApp number if you ever need anything. That's against our policy and our code of conduct. We do that to protect you. We do that to protect our translators. We can't really control what happens outside of the app. And we're really big on safeguarding because we know that populations we serve are very vulnerable populations. Do not request or accept any services, even if offered. So again, we have people who love helping out, and we have a lot of people who need help. However, we are a purely interpretation and translation application. So try to make sure that you only ask for interpretation or translation and that you're not requesting, or your clients even are requesting like tutoring or help with homework or anything like that. Do not ask for interpreters' opinions or advice. This one's really, really important because interpreters really need to stay neutral and they shouldn't share their political, religious beliefs, moral convictions, because that really interferes with their ability to convey messages and to be perceived as a neutral party just helping the communication take place. So we even ask to not ask for advice like, oh, like, what place do you think they should get their cell phone plan from, or anything like that. All right. How Tarjimly works. So I'm going to show you a short video on how to make a call on the Tarjimly. Pretty simple and straightforward. So you just open the application. And then you're going to select the language pairing of your choice, the to and from language. Now, once you make the selection, you can click Request Translation, or if you have access to filters, which we'll go over in a second, you can select the filter that you're most interested in, whether it's a specific skill set or whether you're preferring to get on a phone call or you need a text translated, etc. Or maybe you want a female-only interpreter. Now, once you click a request, we begin to reach out to our pool of volunteers. When you get connected with somebody, you'll get a notification that says like, hey, you've been connected. And it opens up a session that looks like this. If you look at the lower left-hand corner, you'll see a little icon of a camera. You can take pictures with that. To the right of that, you have a little photo. You can attach pictures there. And to the right, all the way to the right, there's the little microphone where you can record voice notes. In the upper right-hand corner, there was a little phone button that you can click to get on an urgent call.
Hi, Wajd. So, Wajd, can you translate that we will provide you with information on your COVID-19 vaccine on Friday for me? Thank you.
ستصلك معلومات عن لقاح COVID-19 مساء يوم الجمعة.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a great day.
No problem.
So, and once you're done, you click the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner and session, and you can rate the session there. Okay, so that's generally how it works. And then you can help us tag it so that we understand what the app is being used for. All right. I know that all of our organizations deal with a lot of vulnerable populations. And so people are probably worried about safeguarding and privacy. So I did want to take a few minutes to go over those matters. First of all, we do a lot for safeguarding on the app. The first one is we have manual reviews for safeguarding. So we have a staff member who has signed an extensive non-disclosure agreement that has access to session data. And they go through different sessions to review data to see that, make sure that nothing untoward is happening on the app. So they also review any complaints, because it's really easy to make a complaint or to report anything on the app or report a person. We also have a safeguarding policy on our website in 12 languages. We have extensive policies and procedures on safeguarding, whether they're whistleblowing, vetting, safer recruiting, and a bunch of other things. Also, it's very, very easy to report translators or beneficiaries. So as soon as you end the session, it asks you if you saw previously whether it was good or problem. And if you click problems, one of the options is, hey, do you want to report the person? Another way you can do is when you go to the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner to even end the session, it'll say, do you want to report the person? And when you do that, we get a notification and we manually review what happens. Now, if somebody is reported twice, even if we don't manually review it, that person is banned from the app automatically. Now, hopefully in the coming weeks, we are also revamping our code of conduct, and we're going to include a self-disclosure agreement. So they're going to have to read and virtually sign, saying that they don't have a history of any negative behavior, or they've never been accused of any negative behavior towards vulnerable populations. We're also launching a safeguarding training on the app. So in our situation, because we have volunteers all over the world, we have people using our app all over the world, it's really important for us to really harness the power of that community to act like its own safeguarding mechanism. So we've put together a pretty extensive safeguarding training on the app to help educate people on what safeguarding is, how to identify abuse, what the types of abuse are, and what the signs are. So that should be launched in a couple of weeks. Vetting. So joining the app as a translator interpreter is pretty easy, but then people have to self-report their fluency level and their experience in different areas. Now, after that, we have that machine learning algorithm. And that machine learning algorithm takes into consideration different factors. It leverages feedback on people's rating. It leverages the self-reported expertise, the self-reported experience levels or fluency levels. And then it also looks into how successful you've been on the app. And then we have the manual review. So the person manually reviewing sessions is looking for multiple things. They're looking for safeguarding, which we just talked about. They're looking for quality of translations and like the smoothness of the session. And then they're also looking for any technical issues happening on the app. So they're really looking for quality, safeguarding, and technical issues. Like we said before, it's really easy to report any translators if you have issues. Now, our approach to confidentiality is twofold. We have the approach on the data side of things. So what do we do with the data? How do we handle the technical side to protect data? And then we have the people side of the equation. So from the data side of the equation, we've made sure that on the app, all conversations are anonymous by default. We only share the first name used on the app. So assuming you put your correct name, we share your first name. So for me, it'll say Sarah. You know, if Clarissa was volunteering as a translator, then it would say Clarissa, but we couldn't see anything else. Even the phone numbers are routed. So you get kind of like a fake phone number in its place, kind of like when you call your Uber driver. So you don't share any of that information. Also, all communication is encrypted at rest and in transit. Another thing we did by design in order to protect data is that we made it so that as a beneficiary or person requesting translation, you have the ability to go back and see past conversations. So in case you had something translated and you want to copy and paste it, in case you had someone send you a voice note and you want to forward it to another application, to a client, you have that there in the. However, we don't want translators to have access to historical data or information in case any PII was shared. So in that situation, as soon as the session is ended, that's erased from the translator's side of the another thing, it's very basic, I think it's important. Tarjimly, we do not share, sell, package, do anything with your data other than use it to protect the people using it. Like I said, going over it to make sure that people are using it properly to keep the community safe. Now, on the people side of things, all of our translators, and soon our beneficiaries actually will also have this, must sign a code of conduct. That code of conduct involves different things, including not sharing personal information. It includes not taking translations off the app, a confidentiality statement about not sharing confidential information, non-discrimination statement, so on and so forth. Another thing is, like I said, we have a staff member reviewing sessions for quality and breaches of code of conduct. So if we see a breach of code of conduct, we have procedures in place that categorize the different forms of breaches. So there's some that are like 3 strikes, 2 strikes, and then there are some that are 1 strike and you're bound to jail. All staff working at Tarjimly who have access to sessions have signed extensive legally binding confidentiality agreements and non-disclosure agreements. Now, we realize that that's a lot of stuff that we're doing, but we also realize that there are some organizations that don't want their sessions recorded at all. And for that, we have an option, which is no record conversations. Now, unfortunately, we didn't feel comfortable making that free or accessible to everybody, because if you make it possible to erase the record of all conversations, then we lose control over safeguarding. However, with the premium subscription, which is basically a suite of additional tools that's targeting organization needs, there is the option to select a no record conversation filter. Now, as soon as you select no record conversations, if the session, once you end the session, we can see that, for example, Clarissa had a conversation with Mandeep for 27 minutes, but we cannot see the text, we cannot listen to the phone calls, none of that. Tarjimly Premium has a bunch of tools, including conference calling, so the ability to add 3rd and 4th numbers to the call. So for example, if I'm in an office working remote, I can make a phone call, connect to the interpreter, make an internet call, and then add my client's number, and it'll ring on their regular phone as a regular phone call. And when they answer, I'm on the phone, the interpreter's on the phone, and they're on the phone. We have hotline numbers, which are kind of internet-free solution where you can call and get connected to an interpreter. And we have premium filters, including like document translation, just to let the interpreters know what you're looking for, or legal terms experience, and that's self-reported expertise by the translators. You also have access to paid interpreters, so pools of paid interpreters for rare languages or languages where it's much harder to find volunteers to be on the app, and no record sessions. So with the paid translators, as a language justice organization, we were adamant in our pricing model to not do a per session or per minute cost, because we didn't want any disincentives or anything to disincentivize people from getting access to interpretation or translation. So whether or not you connect to paid interpreters or volunteers does not change the monthly fee that you have. I was just going to show you a little video on how to make a conference call. Currently, the way of making the conference call is identical, but the way it looks is nicer because they've updated it. They updated it last month, and we haven't updated the video yet. But the general concept is the same.
This video is going to walk you through how to make a conference call on Tarjimly. The process is pretty easy. First, you start by making a regular request. Once connected to an interpreter, you can proceed to add as many numbers as you would like to the call. First, you're going to start by clicking the little telephone icon in the upper right-hand corner to get connected with the interpreter on an internet call. Once you do so, A little icon will pop up with a plus button next to a picture of a person. Click that button and add in the phone number you would like to connect to. Then press the little phone icon that is green to the right of that. That will connect you to that person on the call. You can connect as many people as necessary to the call. Once done, don't forget to hang up and rate your session.
So pretty simple. I did want to let you know how to basically share the app with clients. So even though the majority of people using our app are aid workers with resettlement organizations, pro bono lawyers, etc., we really wanted to make the app accessible to refugees and immigrants themselves. Now, the tricky part is because we're almost like a not tech nonprofit startup in a way. We are at the point in our on our journey where we are really improving the app and adding features, and things are changing a lot to where it's not very sustainable or feasible to localize the app in all of the languages that we offer right now, and to continue to update it over time. However, that is a goal one day. In the meantime, we've translated one-pagers on how to download and use the app in 20 languages, I think now, and we've attached some best practices with them. So the one-pagers basically describe how to download the app, but we've left like certain words in English, like Tarjimly or request translation. So if they don't read English at all, they can kind of just identify the button to press when they're making the request. Also, the best practices that I explained to you are included for them, except we make them a little bit more black and white and less nuanced. So I am a social worker by trade, and I've worked with refugees and immigrants in the past, especially refugees, and have realized that when they're refugees, they're forced to become very resourceful. And when they're forced to become resourceful, they tend to try to get access to as many services as they can to survive. And when they do that, they have to often share a lot of information. And it becomes a pattern of them being like, oh, here's my social security number. Here's all my personal information. And so for us, instead of saying like, think before you share personally identifiable information, we're like, don't share any personal information on the app. And that's just us being extra cautious. To be 100% honest, knock on wood, anything, we haven't had any issues in the last 4 years with like identity issue, like or information breaches of confidentiality or any reported cases of someone taking someone's social security number, anything like that. And we want to keep it that way, which is why we're extra careful in the way that we word our best practices for refugees and immigrants themselves, since we're not there to walk them through using the app. So this page right here, so tarjimly.org/how-it-works. If you click on it or you go visit it and you scroll down, you can find the PDFs and you can download them yourself and share them with your clients. All right, so I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen for a moment and see if people have questions.
There is a question. Thank you very much, Sarah, for the presentation and explaining step by step. There's a question from Luis Virgen, and he asked if the app is free for everyone.
Yes, so the app is free for everybody. We have our base services are free, and we are very committed to keeping them free. The base services include the ability to request any language pairing. Obviously, English to another language, the probability of connecting is much higher than if you did like, I don't know, Spanish to Pashto. It would be a much lower probability of connecting because the number of volunteers that speak that language pairing is much lower than English and Pashto, for example. But ability to select any language pairing and access all of our volunteers. Once you connect, the ability to communicate via text, voice notes, photos, and engaging in an internet call with the interpreter, that's all 100% free. So the premium features are very optional. We don't even make it obvious in the app. So in order to subscribe to premium, you have to go through multiple steps, because we didn't want to make a situation where refugees or immigrants think that they can't access it, or that they accidentally pay for something. So yeah, there is premium with features, but our base services are 100%. Also, I did want to say, if you do have refugees or immigrants or really small organizations that don't have the ability to pay even the $25 a month, please still let us know. We're a mission-based organization, and we can try to give them access.
Is there another question? Maybe you can mention, Sarah, some of the premium features that organizations, so organizations can know what is extra for those who decide to pay the $25.
Yeah, sure. So premium involves access to pools of paid interpreters for languages. So for example, like Swahili, Kirundi, Kinyarwanda, those are some languages that for us are heavily supported by paid interpreters. Some other languages as well, Burmese, Nepali, things like that. You also have access to conference calling. So the ability to not only get on an internet call with an interpreter, but the ability to add different phone numbers, so that you get on 3-way, 4-way calls, etc. You also have access to filters, so you're able to filter for female-only interpreters, or let people know. I see there's a question about time limit. There's no time limit. It just depends on the availability of the volunteer. So with premium, you have a filter called longer session that lets people know in the request, like, hey, I'm going to need you for more than 30 minutes. Things like that. Someone's wondering if interpreters are able to interpret whole workshops. I'm going to be honest, workshops usually require simultaneous interpreters, not consecutive interpreters. And these are like even certified interpreters, which a lot of our volunteers are not certified interpreters, cannot interpret simultaneously if they're not trained and certified in simultaneous interpretation. So it really depends on what type of workshop you're talking about. With the conference calling, you can add our interpreters to Zoom calls or other online meetings. However, I don't know how equipped they would be for that type of consecutive, simultaneous interpreting for that sort of situation. I'm going to give you my email if you have questions. If you want to set up a call and discuss, that's my email right there. And then also I was wondering, obviously any questions are welcome, but if you want to ask about the probability of connecting for specific languages, I can give you a general sense, because like I said, some languages we're really good at, and then other languages we really struggle with. So for example, Hmong, we're really bad at Hmong. Right now, we're trying to do outreach. We're really good at Arabic. We're really good at Spanish, French, Dari, Pashto, Farsi. Dari, Pashto, Farsi, we're excellent. I think the probability of matching for all those 3 languages are in the above 90%, and I'm pretty sure they're above 95%. So we're pretty good at Amharic. And then the probability of connecting, again, depends on whether or not you have access to paid interpreters. So if you do, we're pretty good at Swahili, and we're pretty good at Kinyarwanda. If you don't, we're not great at those. So.
Any other questions?
There's not one.
Yes, Claudia, this presentation will be available. I can share the recording
Someone said Mr. Sings, but I don't see that question.
Yeah, Claudia, so you wrote Mr. Sings, but I think the question, oh, okay, it was a typo.
Okay. Great. I was like, I don't see the question.
Yes, well, I don't see any other questions, Sarah, but I really want to thank you again for your time, for presenting this research to us. As we all see, the app is free, and also there's a, we can share this. It's not just for the organizations, but also for your clients. We know that sometimes they struggle in the day-on-day activities or the process, as Sarah was mentioning. Sometimes they have to go to an office and they don't know how, they don't know the language, so they might need an interpreter, and this can be quick and free for them. So we really wanted all of you to know about this research, and of course there are organizations that might be interested in going on a premium if they have certain clients from certain countries, and is one of the languages that it's more complicated to find interpreters. We think it's a great opportunity as well, and very affordable for us as nonprofits. So thank you everyone for joining us this morning. If I don't see any other questions, I don't know, Sarah, if you would like to add anything else. Sarah already shared her email in the chat. And Sarah.
One more thing I was going to say, obviously it would be difficult to do it for individual nonprofits, but if as a group, if you all had, for example, a bunch of we have staff who speak Spanish, Arabic, Urdu, and I think I want to say French, I'm not sure, but basically if you wanted to do workshops for your clients in those languages, we would be happy to support that as well. If you can kind of collaborate as multiple organizations, we have like an online thing, and that way we can actually present best practices. We can walk them through downloading and using the app. We have some practical workshops where we literally like walk them through the process, and at the end we have them try it out, and so they have to make a request just so that they can learn to use it and they're not intimidated by it. But yeah, if you need that and you're interested as a group of organizations for your clients to organize that, we're happy to do that.
That is great, Sarah. As I mentioned, this is a great resource, not just for us as organizations, but for the communities that we serve. And the best thing is that it's free. I mean, for the community, for those refugees, for those immigrants that we know that they are most of the time low income families. So it's just about taking a few minutes to train them and show them how to download the app and how to request a translator. Well, thank you everyone for your time again, for joining us this morning. We hope that this information was helpful for you and your organization, and we look forward to seeing you in future webinars. Please everyone have a great day. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Teresa.